Welcome to this taster episode of Poetry Worth Hearing, hosted by me, Kathleen McPhillamy. This is a sample of what you'll hear on the first episode of Poetry Worth Hearing, a new audio poetry magazine where you can hear poets reading their own work. I first got the idea for this podcast when I was hosting a series of Zoom open mic evenings during the last year, and it was such a pleasure to hear poets reading the poems they had written aloud. As a poet and a lover of poetry, I've always recognised the importance of the audio dimension of poetry. In the poems you hear in this taster, you'll be able to appreciate how the poets have given their care and attention to how their words sound in the ear as much as to how they look on the page. Our opening poem by Lucy Ingrams is a splendid example.
Windwhip. Along the wood's wandering edge, not flowers, scrub, wired with stalks and thorn, husked with last year's leaf. No new leaf either. Instead, a tender tenderness of catkins wagging from a hazel's wands. And now this saffron strobe, a siskin, tangled in them, mingling golds. Tilloo, tilloo, ti. The bird's sprung song unstarts. A woken wind is up behind Bean Hill. Sows, seethes, motorcades down the rides, bellows every web and twig, twists, tugs, thugs, shakes still. Dragged in the silences it drags our winter's bets back on. From the ponds, stung, the raised cries of geese, like wheels.
The next poem we're going to hear comes from Pat Winslow, who as a poet, actor and storyteller has a strong understanding of the value of the spoken word. Here is her poem.
One Small Step. When the moon, a ball of sticky marmalade, climbs over the campsite, the five sitting round their fire rise as one to stare. They are wearing onesies and backlit look like creatures standing upright for the first time. Antlered, fuzzy-eared, furry little bumps for tails, transfixed, not yet aware. A minute, maybe less, it seems to take forever. One by one they sit and resume their conversation. It's as if the miracle of being here, and the moon being there, and the persistence of the tide had nothing to do with any of it.
And now a poem from Richard Lister, who is a Mole Valley poet.
Blink. An image in the eye of a swift, slipped past her cornea's curve, funneled from the light of a burnt orange land. The colour emerges from a darkroom sink, brazened with heat. She drifts 10,000 feet high, so stark and strike of cliffs are smoothed to ruffles of frayed cloth. Desert, left waste, forsaken as she migrates, yet lifts to her mind with a blink.
Eva Wahl is a German poet and artist with a particular interest in translation. Here she gives her English version of a poem which she has also written in German. Both versions will be available in January on the website.
March. I'm walking with trees, my feet entangled in foliage, cracking through early morning dew. I'm talking in tree tongues, my fountain wide open, I shout and laugh while white blossom clouds float and sink. Haze above my landing place, which is my bed. But I'm outside in the snowdrop bath. Stark naked I crawl into my delicate tree, brocade my dress and home, the sky blue silk, snow belts tickle toes. I am walking in trees. Where to? Where to? Where to?
Next comes Jane Thomas with a beautiful poem about loss and, I think, a rite of passage.
Going away outfit. I drop off your clothes in a bag for life, washed, shaken and pressed. Your favourite green jumper, check shirt, neat mole-coloured cords, and a pair of pure new wool socks. You can't bear cold feet. When I arrive the next morning to say goodbye, there is a loose thread on your jumper. As I lean down to kiss you one last time, I pull it, unsure whether it will draw me closer or unravel.
Our next poet is Vanessa Lampert. Vanessa is a frequent prize winner in poetry competitions, and she's a founding editor of the new print magazine, The Alchemy Spoon. Here she is with her poem.
Sissinghurst. This is where June is, tumultuous summer, staunchly upright to the sky's blunt rule, blooms uplifted, palms raised like a child explaining how a plant is, assured ancestry of flowers, being oblivious to all calamity, assembled in their currencies of colour. Blue with bluer still, silver exalting the white. We wander the avenues of pleached limes. You tell me trees this close will meld their limbs together. We reach to part the foliage, touching hands, searching for the invisible or the scar. This place teems with the elderly in pairs. Cheerfully they background vantages in visors and drip-dry slacks. Who on earth will be left to love us when we're them?
The last poem in this taster comes from Carl Tomlinson, who has just published his first book, Changing Places. Here he is with a new poem.
Samane's Sacrifice. The knife cuts deep and clean to free the flesh from skin. I slice it into cubes, check the heat, add some spice, chuck out the seeds, and crack on with my recipe for soup. The pumpkins have done well this year. I do not choose to say if this is down to expert propagation or due propitiation, which I offered unaware. I do know this, that when we lifted them and barrowed wormy muck to spread on beds now laid to winter's rest, we were working side by side with all the ripening and fall that's gone before. Tonight, my sacrifice is slices of peel, tipped on the compost heap.
You can hear all these poems again on episode 1 of Poetry Worth Hearing, together with many more by these and other poets. The text of the poems and some information about the poets will be posted simultaneously on the Poetry Worth Hearing website. In addition, there'll be an interview with Pat Winslow, where she talks about contemporary poets she thinks are worth reading. If you would like to submit work to Poetry Worth Hearing, make a recording of yourself reading unpublished poems and send it to poetryworthhearing@gmail.com. Recordings should not be more than 4 minutes in length, but can include several poems and any relevant introductory material. You don't need to give your name in the recording, as I will introduce each poet. So that's it for the Taster episode. Be sure to listen in to the first episode of Poetry Worth Hearing.